So thank you so much for being here tonight with your husband. We're honored to have you here as Time's 2024 CEO of the Year. I will start with an easy question. President Trump takes office in a few weeks. Will the new administration be good or bad for the chip industry?
Why don't we go back to the Kate and Clark numbers, Right. I like that. That was a very nice introduction. First of all, Sam, Jess, thank you so much. This is such an honor to be here and such an honor to be amongst this company. The truth is, we all think about what might happen, but the most important thing for our business, and probably most businesses, is just having certainty on what's going to happen. So, since the election, I think all of us in business have been, thinking about, just what the next 4 years projects, and I think we are optimistic about, business. We're optimistic about the opportunities. Obviously, in the semiconductor world, for us in chips, we're a little bit of a sensitive topic.
Sure. We'll get into that.
Yes, but but overall, I think certainty is a good thing.
Good. You have in the past called AI the most transformational technology you've seen in your career. I'm curious, for this crowd, what do most people get wrong about AI?
Well, let me ask, so how many people in the audience use AI every day?
It's pretty good.
I think that is the most amazing thing. That's why I believe AI is the most important technology that I've certainly seen in my career. And back to what people may not quite understand is two things. One is we're at the very, very, very beginning of AI. So whatever you think you're doing today that seems amazing, it's going to be 10 times more amazing, even 12 months from now, because we're at the very early part of the learning curve. And because we're learning, it's not always going to be right. And so the fact that AI is not right today doesn't mean that it's not the most important technology ever. And Sarah is sitting right here at our table. The street always wants the answer today or tomorrow. It might take a little bit longer than that, but I think over this is a 5 to 10 year cycle that we're in, and we're at the very beginning of the cycle, and that's what's so exciting about it.
I'd love to get into some of the geopolitical issues that you and your company sit across. Today, AMD's most advanced chips are made outside the United States. When will they be made here?
So, I would maybe even take a step back and say, 5 years ago, nobody thought about where chips were made, right? Nobody thought about where do you get your next chip, and that is what has really changed for our industry. Is chips are now at the backbone of everything. Everything you do, whether it's something in your business or something in your home or something in your community, goes through probably thousands of chips a day, and that's what makes it so important. And I think the turning point was actually during the pandemic, when people couldn't get enough chips. If you remember, people were wondering why were the cars constrained because you didn't have enough chips. Why couldn't you get your computers when you needed it? And that's when it became important as to where you can actually manufacture chips. So yes, from a political standpoint, geopolitical standpoint, it wasn't that important 5 or 10 years ago, so it wasn't something the United States focused on. And since then, it's become super important. It's become, with the CHIPS Act and everything else. And actually, what that has done is it's put so much more investment into this area over the last few years. So, I think it will take us probably the next 5+ years to rebuild manufacturing in the United States, but it's going, and it's actually going faster than some might have thought.
But to go back to my question, will you be able to make your most advanced chips in the United States?
We will.
And that will be in 5 years?
I would say in the next 3 to 5 years, you'll start seeing the most advanced chips.
You move that forward 3 years. I like that.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, in Arizona right now, Arizona is the center of some of the most advanced chips in the country, and we're getting our first chips off the line, and they're looking quite good.
You talked about being at the beginning of this cycle. There are some reports that AI is actually plateauing. Isn't that bad news for AMD?
First of all, I don't agree with them.
Why not?
Because again, this is the view of whenever we see technology cycles, they're actually arcs. So you get a new innovation, and it takes you so far, and then you need the next new innovation, and it takes you the next 5+ years, and then you see the next. And I think we're just at the initial waves of AI. So today, what people want is larger and larger computers. Like you talk about supercomputers. We just had, every 6 months they talk about, they rank actually the fastest supercomputers, and we just had a couple of supercomputers that were just built. We'll have a faster one, like a year from now. And the innovation that happens when you have all of this engineering talent come together, there are lots of new ideas, lots of new algorithms out there. And probably what I find most exciting about AI is that you can think about AI solving a broad set of issues. Like you think about ChatGPT today, you can ask it questions, you can, we're talking about some of the things that you might do with time. You can see the ability to transfer lots of general information, but there's also a really interesting part of AI that how you can go really deep and solve some of the world's hardest problems. Like this idea that you can accelerate the rate and pace of medical discovery. Like I'm really interested in how AI and healthcare come together because healthcare is so personal to all of us, right? We all have family, friends that have been impacted by various diseases. If we can accelerate drug discovery, if we can accelerate finding some of these, the next wave, I believe you can do that with the next set of AI. So I don't think we're anywhere near plateauing. I think you might need to do it a different way. And we've always had this notion as engineers that when you reach a roadblock, you find your next set of ideas to go forward.
Well, speaking of doing it a different way, AI requires a massive amount of energy. Is it making our climate worse? Is it harming our planet?
I think we are all in this place where power is one of the key things that we think about. How do we get enough energy for what we want to do? You do need a lot of energy to run these massively powerful systems. I think AI can also help us conserve actually energy, in the sense that it'll help us solve problems in a different way, so that you won't have to necessarily take as long. Like one of the most interesting parts of AI is it should be able to kind of help us get to the answer. Some problems that might have taken months or even years to simulate. Like if you think about some of the latest drug discoveries and how long things take, you can imagine a time when that might be done in days or weeks. And so that's how you see the trade-off between energy and more computing power.
China just opened an antitrust investigation into NVIDIA. Are you worried that a geopolitical fight between China and the US will harm your business?
So there's a lot of discussion about the US and China and what that means. Clearly, chips have become something that are so important from a national security standpoint. And we recognize that. There are some chips, for example, that are so special that we can't ship to China, that we can't ship to certain other restricted countries. I think balance is always important in these things. Look, China's also an important market for us. We think about China as there are lots and lots of uses of semiconductors, and we like to have balance in this. It's so important. We talked about the new administration at the top. What's really important is for there to be a good dialogue between sort of the public sector and the private sector. I think there's a lot of partnerships that are necessary. That's true in most industries. That's certainly very true in our industry. And the key is that we want to have the ability to protect national security while also ensuring that we have access to the Chinese market.
Those who work with you say you're a competitive person.
Is that okay?
It's fantastic. Is there a day when AMD will be bigger than NVIDIA?
competition is a good thing, but one doesn't, I believe that there are multiple winners in this market. And the key for us is, are we putting out new technology? Are we putting out technology that is changing the world? Are we helping solve some of the world's most important problems? Those are really, really important. And at the end of the day, who's bigger, who's smaller, we'll see. We'll see how that plays out.
I think the challenge is on. Speaking of competition, there's an opening in the CEO's office at Intel. Who should take it?
Sam, this was supposed to be a pleasant dinner, wasn't it?
I think they're having a great time.
Look, I have a lot of respect for Pat as a colleague.
Yeah.
So I've known him for many, many years. It is hard to turn around a semiconductor company. Let me start with that. So there are, the thing about our industry is that the decisions that you make today, you actually won't see the fruits of that labor for like 5 years. I mean, that's the case. It's like a 5-year cycle. It takes that long to design products, to think about technology, to think about markets going forward. So, I would say it's a tough job. It's a tough job.
Has the Biden administration encouraged you to merge with Intel?
I think the answer to that question is no. So I can answer that question. I think what we're all looking for is, how do we make the U.S. industry stronger, right? The U.S. leads in semiconductors today, in semiconductor design. We have been fortunate enough, with Silicon Valley, with all of the intellectual property that we've developed over the last many years for just the innovation in our culture. That goes with startups, but also with larger, more advanced companies. We've actually acquired a number of companies over the last few years, and it's added a lot to the equation. We're going to continue to do that. I mean, as an industry, we're going to continue to push the envelope on technology, and I think that's something that we should be really proud of. Right? We want to have the best chips. We want to have the best computers. We want to use those computers to solve the most difficult problems. And how we do that as an industry is partnering. Like, actually, we are partnering, with Intel on a number of things. We're partnering with many of the companies in the semiconductor industry, because there's no one company that has all of the good ideas. It is a place where we absolutely have to come together, and there are places where we're going to compete, and there are places where we're going to collaborate.
I think one of the things that stands out in reading and listening to people talk about your journey as a leader is the points in time where you decided not to do something when people were encouraging you to do that. We often talk about leadership as what you do, but it's just as frequently what you choose not to do. Is there a moment in time, a decision that sticks out for you where you said, everyone was telling you to go this way, and you said, no, we have to go that way?
Probably the most striking moment in time is, whenever you think about technology, people always are most interested in what you're doing today. Right. Like, what's the fad of today? So when I first took over as CEO, it was 2014 and 2015 timeframe. And the fad was, not fad is not the right word, but the more interesting thing was, you're so excited about your next Apple iPhone, right? You're so excited about the next tablet that you're going to buy. And people were asking, my board was asking me, Lisa, why are we not doing that? Like, why are we not in phones? Why are we not in tablets? And the truth was, those are fine businesses to be in, but they're not AMD. Like AMD, we build big computers. That's what we do. We build big computers. And many of you may not have heard about AMD, certainly 10 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. Hopefully in the last year you've heard us from time to time. We build big computers. And big computers were not sexy 10 years ago, but they're kind of sexy now, right? I mean, you're talking to me about AI. I'm lucky enough to sit amongst this audience, and I think that's the key. The key is to be very clear on what you want to be best at, and it doesn't have to be the most popular thing, but it has to be something that you know will make a difference.
Well, Lisa Su, thank you for making supercomputers sexy. We're so glad to have you.
Thank you.